Good morning, everyone. For today's lesson is all about Unit 3, Contemporary Arts in the Philippines. So for Unit 1, Contemporary Arts in the Philippines. Have you ever wondered what exactly contemporary art means? Well, contemporary art is a modernized art, and we should talk about the modernized art or the contemporary art of the Philippines in this unit. Remember, context is not just background or backdrop. It is intricately weaved with many elements: the artist, society, environment, audience, and way of life. So, dili lang jud kadto siya, no? Art is shaped by and draws inspiration from the society, and at the same time, art is honed by specific condition and en- engendered its production. So, dili lang siya kanang for yourself, but it can inspire others. For example, Mona Lisa. Most of the artists are inspired by that art because dugay kay siya ni sikat, no? So, next. So, learning targets. In this unit, we should be able to define contemporary arts in the Philippines and research on various contemporary art forms. Deserve jud yut. Lesson 1. Contemporary arts in the Philippines. Oh my god. It is a common tendency to describe present as modern. Yes, tinuod jud na. Being modern means being up to date and technologically advanced, including the phones, computer, internet, and etc. Often, being modern is equated with being contemporary. As I said a while ago, contemporary is a modern something. Art is that art that is new or current is also often referred to as modern. For example, some modern arts are minimalist. It is a modern art na karon lang siya ning sikat. Some are ay I mean another example is the kanagong kanang photojournalist. Kanang mag-edit sa Adobe. Yes, kana. As opposed to traditional and conservative, of course. In other words, in every language, the terms are interchangeable. In this lesson, we will learn the terms modern contemporary refer to vastly different periods. Modern art is not the same as contemporary art, although they could share some characteristic sources and influences. However, it is also possible to integrate and transform elements from modern into contemporary art. So, nataanan no ka na think pair share kay we are not able to give some activities for our listeners. So, the first difference between the contemporary and modern is historical and chronological. The table suggested by Art Studies Professor Fajardo and Flores titled Historical Overview of the Philippine Art 2002. Below shows a summary of the periods of Philippine art from pre-conquest to the contemporary. Please take note that this table includes painting, sculpture, and architecture only. As you learn from succeeding lesson, you can add on your own data on the arts like music, dance, literature, and theater. So, mani siyang historical overview nila Miss nila Fajardo and Flores. So, pre-conquest form nila is painting, sculpture, and architecture. Pre-conquest, Spanish period, American period, Japanese period, post-war republic, and 70s contemporary art. So, sa pre-conquest, daghan jud kaayog pottery and body adornment or ornaments. So, sige, mangita tag example. Pottery in the Philippines. Pottery. So kani siya. So these are some examples of pottery in the pre-conquest in the Philippines. Kana siya. Kana. 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 So next. Sa Spanish period naman sa painting is religious icon and ecclesiastical secular portraiture. So here figure B kana. For example katong mga anitog-anita na namakitaan gud nato. Intern na sila dera aka ng mga anitog-anita na ilahang ginabuhat ato nga time. So next. Sa American period is landscape, portraiture genre, interior, still life. So, American period ta. Sa American period ta magtanaw. American period art in the Philippines. So, still life manggihapon to siya, no? So, these are some of the examples. So, Francisco is known for this depiction of important Philippine history such as the first mass. So, kana siya. Kana. Grabe, no? How'd you sila? Char. So, sa Japanese period naman, wartime scene, aggression, nationalism, acrosites, symbols protest, aspiration for peace, propaganda, indigenizing, and orientalizing works genre. For example, Japanese period. Okay, thank you. Wait a minute, Japanese period, Philippine art. So, kani siya. Tanawa na ninyo. That one. No more. Just like war? Something? This one. The Bataan Death March. So, intergihapon dito, no? The Bataan Death March is ang pinaka-nindot nga example atong sa Japanese time. So, next is the post-war republic. Modern conservative, abstract, experimental, public art. So, post-war republic ta. So, post-war republic. Bag-ora po niya siya sa ako, post-war republic. Oh. Post-war republic. Oh, sculpture? I mean art. So, this is... Oh my God, baligya yut. So, modern na siya. Na siya yung mga modern style. Mga ingana. Okay, ani. So, muna siyang example. So, sa 70s contemporary art is figurative ug non-figurative art for art's sake. Multimedia and mixed media, transmedia. So, internal lang mga multimedia. Parehas anang combine nag-art. Like, combined ang painting ug ang pastel ingana. So internet to siya. So sa sculpture, pottery sa pre-conquest is pottery, carving and woodwork, metalwork and expression. So figure C, this is woodwork. Yes, this is a woodwork here in the Philippines. Muna sa pre-conquest. While sa Spanish period, Santos furniture reliefs, altar pieces, jewelry, metalwork, fiesta ornamentation. So, intertong mga altar pieces kaning sa figure D katong na inyo makita sa simbahan kana mo na siya. While sa American period is freestanding relief public. I don't know. I'm gonna find some freestanding relief public. Freestanding. Oh, I see. Kanang mga ingani yot. Ning mga ingani, oh. Kadong, oh my god, ang mga kuan. Trivia. Kabalo ba mo nga nung gagmay og tintin ang mga sculpture? Because ana tong sa mga Greek, mas dako man ang ulo. So, mas dako dapat og bright ang gamiton, dili ang tintin, char. Marat akong trivia. Ambot kung tama pud ba. So, next is architecture. So, dwelling sa pre-conquest is dwelling in houses, shelters, worship areas, officials, residence, mosque, masjid, state edifices. So, kana siya. Kanang ilahang pinaka number one examples are the mosques katong sa mga Muslim, like kadong na mga dome and na mga moon sa taas. Next is Spanish period is the church, plaza complex, town planning, fortification, civil buildings and installation, private residence, commercial structures, cemeteries, bridges, and lighthouse. So, familiar naman kayo tanong, makita naman po nato sila bisking asa ng kanang sa Spanish period. Next is American period, which is city planning, parks, waterfronts, civic and government structure, public works, apartments, residences, offices, health and public education business. So, kana sila kanang mga fountain kanang mga park, maana siya. So, sa Japanese period is public works, manang mga dalan-dalan, etc. Sa post-war and 70s contemporary is real estate, safe housing, accessories, tenements, informal settlers, convention art, commercial business, condominium, small subdivision, low-cost housing. So, muna siya ang mga historical overview sa Philippine contemporary arts. If you walk in terms of art history, contemporary art can be defined as art produced by artists living today. So, si Siza Bacani. So, let's search who is Siza Bacani. I mean, na naman na siya dari. Wala di ay. Siza Bacani. So, Siza Bacani, who is she? Bacani. Oh, hilig siya photographies. Yes. Hilig siya photographies. Indeed. Yeah. Is a street photographer siya. Figure 1.2 was taken around 2013 in Hong Kong, where the photographer Siza Bacani, who hails from Nueva Vizcaya, worked as a domestic helper and is now based in New York on a scholarship. On her days off, she shot with her DG camera. Her first camera was bought from money loaned by the employer. For more information, okay, manato siya. So, si sa Bacani di ay kay isa domestic helper pero nana siya karon dito sa New York for a scholarship. HR Campus Painting Figure 1.3 was painted in the early 1960s. At that time, the painting was considered contemporary. Today, we refer to this work as an example of modern art, produced between the American colonial period to the post-war period. Some modern artists continue to produce work till today. In that sense, their works can be described as contemporary by virtue of being of the present. Yeah. So modern artists continue to produce the work till today. So modern sa una is contemporary daw ning figure 1.3, but now it is modern because nagaproduce man gahapon ang mga artists sa una ug mga art na ilahang ginapalabas karon. For example, the national artist Arturo Luz continued to produce paintings in his 90s and well into the the 21st. However, as seen in Figure 1.1, the table of historical overview, his paintings, hard edged and minimalist abstract style is associated with the modern style in the late 20th century. Contemporary is therefore a fluid term, and its use can change depending on the contexts. In this case, historical and stylistic, at times the modern and contemporary can be used simultaneously or interchangeable. However, there is also danger of using them carelessly or loosely. Thus, it is important to know the historical and stylistic context of the term. Yes, dapat siya na to mahibalaan no kay. For example, pataka ra kag ingon-ingon so marong jud kayo dili jud na siya pwede. So dapat imuha ng nag-use kag kanang modern art kadtong para sa atong minimalist modern art. So imuha yung dapat gamiton is modern art should because you're referring to a modern art, dili contemporary, dili tong old na arts kay para ma-determine sa mga people ang art. There are a number of artists, young and senior alike, who paint in style associated with modern art. National artist Victorio Edades is credited for initiating the modern art movement that challenged the neoclassic style, which was dominant at the time he came home from studying America before the war. The neoclassic style depicts reality as closely as possible and idealizes it. So, mangita tag neoclassic art style, neoclassic styles. So, mga ingani ang art, mga nude or something. The Death of Marat. Yeah. Kada mo makita ninyo sa Facebook na mga meme, mostly mga ingana good. Kada mga kamot-kamot daw duha ka buok na nagtagbo and etc. The modern artists led by Edades challenge what were prescribed as conservative art scene. The works of National Fernando Amorsolo and Guillermo Tolentino, modern artists do not aim to copy and idealize reality. Instead, they change the colors and flatten the picture instead of creating illusions of depth, nearness, and fairness. Instead of the beautiful and pastoral, they depict that might be tough of as ugly and unpleasant. So dili sila ang mga kanagod, ang mga modern artists. Dili sila kanang kuntahay kanang dili nila kuanon ba, dili jud nila sundugon ang unsay ilahang kuanon ilang nasa hunana. But they broaden their mind. Maghimo sila kuan something na unusual sa mga pananaw sa tao ba. Kay para na siya uniqueness and everything. So, at that time, modern art was considered the new and shocking. Neoclassic art was familiar and comfortable. Neoclassic art is also described by art historians like Guillermo as academic, along with other established style imported from Europe via Spanish colonization. In its simplest sense, neoclassicism is academic, as it continues to be taught in school, particularly the then University of the Philippines School of Fine Arts, now UP College of Fine Arts, where Amorsolo and Tolentino most influential. So, anak pa ni Guillermo is, ang neoclassic art daw is academic, kaya ginatudlo siya sa mga school. For example, ana daw kay ang University of the Philippines Social School of the Arts. So sorry. The School of the Fine Arts is now the University of the Philippines College of Fine Arts, where students are being exposed to various styles. The neoclassic style is associated with Amorsal and Tolentino to continue to influence a number of practicing artists who have learned paint in the style either formally as students in various universities where classical style is included in the curriculum or informally through workshops and apprenticeships or through self-learning or self-study, as in this case many artists from the regions outside Manila. So neoclassical art naa na siya ginatulot dito as sa Philippine University of the Philippine College of Fine Arts. So dili lang siya kanang basta-basta na art, but ilaha siyang kanang ginatudlo na ang uban is self-study and ang uban is self-learning lang. Remember, at times, the modern and contemporary can be used simultaneously or interchangeable. However, there is also a danger using carelessly or loosely. Thus, the importance of the historical and stylistic context of the terms. So, mata kong gingon ka kanina. Today, modern art is referred as traditional, as contemporary art, as compared to contemporary art. So, kanina siya, contemporary art is the art of the present, which is continuously in process and in flux. What is contemporary art today might become academic or traditional at some point. The style of modern art, for example, are now part of art school curricula and have become academic. Thus, the distinction between modern and contemporary art could also be a matter of perception and reception depending on the context, which will be discussed in detail. For now, it is important that we are aware of the distinction between modern art and contemporary art, their differences as well as similarities. So, ang modern art is the art sa una. Murag sunod ra siya sa contemporary art. Ang ana siya, di ba, na ang contemporary art might become academic or traditional, while ang modern art is the art that part of the school curricula kana inyohang mga kuan kanang mag clay molding and etc. What are the similarities and differences between modern art and contemporary art? Unsa kaya? Lisod po ng spelling ra, char. So this is figure 1.5. Diba nakakita naman siguro taan ni katong gipa-search ni Sir, diba, katong Magpupukot by Carlos Francisco, and figure 1.6 is the fishing scene by Fernando Amorsolo, sikat kay na sila yot. And figure 1.7 is the Builders by Victorio Idades. Carlo Francisco depiction of fishing as a difficult process, while a Amorsolo rendition emphasizes calm and placidity. In Francisco's Magpupukot, H.R. Ocampos, The Contrast, 1914, figure 1.13. Cesar Legazpi's Frugal Meal, undated, in figure 1.4, Idades, The Builders, 1928, in figure 1.7, shows the oppressive condition of the underprivileged classes. So, mga underprivileged classes ang mga meaning ato na mga arts. Modern artists like Romeo Tabuena, Hernando Ocampo, Vicente Manansala, Victor Orteza, Ramon Estela, and Cesar Legazpi were actively participating the social conditions in the aftermath of World War II. Called called neorealists by critic Aguilar. Style Association. Called neorealists by critic Aguilar Cruz. This artist depicts society's problem and challenge the neoclassic rural pastoral style associated with the Amorsolo and Tolentino. The social realist preventists are considered heirs of the tradition. So, the figure 1.8 is Filipina DH by Imelda Kahipa Endaya. Kuya waniyag art. No art ba na siya? Char. So, social realism continues to influence contemporary arts. For example, Imelda Kahipe Endaya's Filipina DH 1995 is a social realist, but the style and medium of the installation is markedly different. Refer to the stylistic overview table figure 1.9 for an idea of the difference in the style and medium between modern and contemporary art. So, stylistic overview na pud tayot. Form is painting, sculpture, and architecture. Pre-conquest, Spanish period again. American, Japanese period, and contemporary period. So, sa painting, sculpture, and architecture is the same lang sa pre-conquest. Religious, animist, and Islamic, community-based, inter-ethnic relations, collective history. So, sa Spanish period is religious, devotional, secular, formal, naturalistic, home run, miniaturismo, guild, and academic. Sa sa American period is classical, nostalgic. In Japanese period, the painting is incipient, triumvirate, 13 moderns, abstract, neorealist, surreal, expressionist. Well, sa contemporary art or the postmodern is collaborative, hyperrealistic, and new paintings. Oh my god. Abstract expression, junk, scrap, the champion artist. So, mauna na siyang mga stylistic overview. Aside from style, it is also very useful to know the artists are coming from and the circumstances of making and disseminating their art. With a table titled Cultural Overview, we can see the contemporary artists Bacani and Kahipe Indaya belong to different contexts. The latter has been exhibited in galleries and museums. Just like the modern artists or platforms like blogs and caught the attention of photographers, she soon became very popular like in social, print, and broadcast media. Now that she is exhibited in museum and gallery space, her work has crossed over the domain of the fine arts. Cultural overview. So, mana siya. So, cultural overview here in the Philippine arts. Indigenous and Southeast Asia. Ritual and governance. Muna na siya. Figure 1 and J. Where is that? I mean figure I and J. So, kana. And this one. Oh my god. And Islamic or Philippine Muslim. So, sa folk or lowland, colonial and post-colonial. Yes, this one. Lahi jug art yut, no? Makainon jug og lahi jud. Fine or word-based. Museum circulated, artist-centered, gallery distributed. So, for example, katong ilahang gipamutang dito ang mga art sa museum like Kublai Khan, na naa sa Panabu Museum, na siya. Popular, urban, and mass-based. Mass-produced, market-oriented. So, kana sigurong magbaligya-baligya yun. Ibin Saud Salipiasin Ahmad. From Zamboanga, Mindanao comes from a hybrid mixture of the local Sabanen, and traditional Maguindanao Muslim cultures. He is a contemporary artist, but his cultural context is indigenous in Southeast Asia and Philippine Muslim. His style can be considered traditional, as it throws in tradition and intricacy of drafting technique, which he learned from the trade school in Zamboanga. His medium is watercolor. His subject matter is the people of his locality. His depictions invite us to witness his culture and its tradition in context of today's changing time. So ang iyahang ginakuan is kana naga-outline siyang traditional daw iyang art niya. Ang iyahang art is mostly mga people around him, iyahang tradition sa ilahang lugar ug sa Mindanao. What are the general characteristics of contemporary art? Although contemporary artists like Saudi Ahmed continue to use traditional media such as watercolor and oil canvas, others like Kahepe and Daya is use mixed media. Some works are also site-specific, meaning they cannot be experienced in the same way if removed from their original places of exhibit, whether it's gallery, out of the streets, in the forest, on the internet, etc. They are generally process-based, integrated various mediums in art forms. For example, the band Sleepyheads integrate performance art theatrically and the indie music in their gigs. Oh, tanawa na yun. Ninduta na, uy. Nindut no? Oh. Lilikha Artists Village, Kabunian de Goya. Char, The Mighty Butens, Kidlat Tahimik. Hulo, Kidlat Tahimik, Baguio. The filmmaker Kidlat Tahimik and his family performed their life in their art and vice versa as the evident in the art spaces in Baguio, which have become associated with mixed performance, installation, architecture, and culinary arts. It is hard to separate the artist from his space of practice in his life work. However, the output is not his alone. The process is collaborative and the experience is immersed and interactive such the art is never complete without the audience active input. A lot of contemporary art may be collaborative, participative, interactive, and process-oriented, meaning that there is a less emphasis on the finished product and a single author or creator. This is not always the case for other works. However, there is a wide range of strategies, media, and techniques under the contemporary arts. There are works, for example, that are done alone by artists in their studios, such as Ahmad, for example, and are therefore not working the collaboration with others. There are works that are too fragile for direct handling and not exactly interactive, and so on. And there will be many examples in subsequent lessons may or may not exhibit all these characters evenly. So, guys, let's just wrap up. So, daghan jud kay mga artist na ning agi sa una, no? So, for example, ato is sila Tolentino. There are contemporary and modern artists. Katong mga ako ang gipang mention kaganina. Remember, wait. I need Google. Remember what contemporary art is. Contemporary art is the art of today produced in the second half of the 20th century or in the 21st century. Contemporary artists work in the globally influenced, culturally diverse, and technologically advancing world. While modern art includes artistic work produced during the period of extending roughly from the 1860s to the 1970s and denotes the styles of philosophies and of the art produced during the era. The term is usually associated with art in which the traditions of the past have been thrown aside in a spirit of experimentation. So, na siya kanang mga karaan ang modern art. Abi ning bag-o no, pero karaan na siya yut. And never forget na there are a lot of historical overview here in the Philippines. Dili basta ato ang atong art cute kay gisagol-sagol jug taman like charot. So thank you for listening to me for the lesson 1. Thank you everyone. I love you all.